This episode is brought to you by the members of the You Run Podcast Network. All of their shows and our own can be found at yourunpodcast.com, along with links to our socials and to our shop. So please head over to yourunpodcast.com today and find your next podcast experience. We are the home of entertainment.
All right, once again, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Questions?
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes he tells sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. The passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. But to do one podcast.
I like this that we're starting with a funky beat. That's cool. I feel like I'm about to go on the waltzes.
Yeah, like this is like the most upbeat this episode is going to be. From here on out, it's going to be, what is this movie? But we'll talk about that in a minute. Hello and welcome to the You Run Podcast. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And this is the horror movie review flavour of the You Run Podcast, where the listeners control the show. You pick the movies and we hate you for this week. You can also follow us on social media, where you get the ability to pick the movies and get involved. We're at You Run Podcast everywhere. Go to our website, yourunpodcast.com. There's links to all of our socials. There's links to our shop, links to all of the other members of the You Run Podcast Network as well. If you are on Instagram, go and follow Mark, because he gets upset if you don't. He is at Reviews from the Crypt and at VHS from the Crypt, both of which are fabulous accounts that I followed before he was my co-host. So it's not me just blowing smoke up his ass, like I was accused of in a DM this week. You always
really?
Mark. You're always repping Mark. It's because he's your mate.
Well, I'm here with you, like, as a duo, and it would be weird if not necessarily like if you didn't, but like for someone to say, "Why are you always doing that?" That's a strange call out.
I thought it was a strange call out, and I'm not going to say. I'll tell you off the air who it was, but I was like, "What the fuck? Go away!"
That is so strange.
This
is my co-host, but don't worry about him. Don't bother following him. Just fuck him.
Yeah, this is Mark. Don't follow him at Reviews from the Crypt or at VHS from the Crypt. Just don't do that. Follow someone else. There's many better accounts out there. If you've never listened before, we will give you a brief synopsis of the movie. Then we're going to break it down and go in more depth and spoil the movie for you. So if you've not seen the movie with this week, don't worry about it. just skip the episode or listen, because what we're going to bring you today is going to be better. Later on in the show, we've got interactive features. We have a game. This week, the return of Broken Spirit, our unbeatable quiz, which also means we have a guest this week. After that, we'll bring you our most important part of the show, mine, Mark's, and our guest scores for this movie. We also have a lot of voicemails to get through this week. Before we bring our guest on, one last thing. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube, because those are the best ways and the cheapest ways to support us for bringing you a free weekly show that we sacrifice many hours of our week to bring you.
Yes.
This week, I feel you owe us a 5-star review, especially if you voted for this movie.
If ever there was a week to put the work in, it is this one, yeah.
You are in debt to us, massively in debt. This week, we are joined by a man who, as far as I'm concerned, needs no introduction whatsoever. The host of an incredible podcast, which is more varied in topics than Skittles are in colours. Movie reviews across all genres, TV series discussions, music analysis of albums and genres in time, professional wrestling episodes. Like, I'm not even scratching the surface of how much this show covers. One thing all of these things have in common, though, is they were the peak of pop culture. It gives us great pleasure to welcome a man of many talents and many obsessions, one of which pop culture, the host of Pop Culture Reflections podcast. And let's give him some nostalgia to bring him on. It's Justin.
Ooh, that is a great pick. Yes.
Hello.
You should have let that go to where the beat dropped, mate, because that is a tune.
Welcome to the show.
Listen, finally I'm here and I'm pissed off. Not because of the intro, it was beautiful. And not because I'm finally here because I love being here. I couldn't wait, but this topic, damn it, this topic.
Yeah.
They've done you dirty with this episode, I think.
They have. I think it's going to be a good episode, but I think we're all in the same boat on this. This is it. If you've seen the picture of the cover of this episode, because we've not revealed what it is on the air yet, if you've seen what it is and you love this movie, I don't often say this, but I'd probably dip out now because we're probably going to be systematically ripping this apart limb by limb, throwing it in a heap and setting it on fire.
100%. Yeah.
And then some.
Justin, we're going to give you a chance later on to tell everyone where they can find you and all about your show. And I think between now and the end of this episode, people are going to get a very good idea of who you are, where you sit in the world.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Today, we bring a close to 90 Slashers month, which quickly become Chucky month for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
We're going to go out with a fizzle instead of a bang. But it is going to be a bang because we've got a fabulous guest. Just a crap movie. Like, genuinely, listeners, like, you all vote for movies. We give you a selection of grade A quality, top-notch horror movies, and we scatter in some shit in a way to almost control what you choose. And every time we do it, you royally fuck us over. Please stop.
Oh, brilliant.
Imagine having no memory of who you are, where you are, or how you got there. Well, this is exactly what happens to John Doe when he wakes up in Springwood after being rounded up and dropped off at a Wish version of Professor X's home for the gifted. With the help of psychologist Maggie Burrows, begins to unpick his memories and make a few new friends, which is good as he's going to need them to take on the most cartoonish version of the Dream Demon in franchise history. Freddy's back for one more outing, even though he got another one after this. Today we look at Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. Sort of. That's enough of that. Right. This movie is about as shit as a nightmare movie gets, but I know exactly where I want to start. And that is with this computer-typed Terminator-esque in the year 2029, 10 years after in the future. Like, what the fuck? Can someone explain? Anyone?
To be fair, though, mate, I mean, I personally don't get the dialogue that it's explaining. It didn't make a lot of sense. But I like that it was a quote from someone. I can't remember who the quote was, but then the next quote was from Freddy after it, and it was like, signed Freddy Krueger. And I thought, that's funny. And you've got the Goo Goo Dolls playing over the top. And I was like, yeah, man, this is it. Freddy's final movie. They're going to finally kill him. This is going to be awesome. Man, this build-up is great. What comes after is very disappointing.
I fucking hated it. I hated it from Jump Street. I did. And then the quote, of course, has to reference bitch, you know, because the installment before Dream Child, he must have said the word bitch like 28 times. So of course we have to get the quote at the beginning of the movie. I was instantly pissed off. And you know what? Before we go any further, I need to crack that open because we need it. This is ridiculous. Go ahead.
Indeed, we do. So, for me, what I don't understand about this opening segment is
the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West. Like, where are you stuck?
I mean, to be honest with you, all of that is quite wild. But so this is set 10 years after the events. Oh no, it's just 10 years of wherever you're watching it from. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's not saying this is 10 years after the events of the last movie. It's 10 years from when you're viewing it, basically. And Freddy's basically killed all the children. Everyone's dead, apart from this one kid who's on this plane. We have this really bizarre ejecting from a plane thing he goes into the weird little Wizard of Oz house, which again, like you've got Freddy flying on a broomstick with a witch's hat and a cape. It's the most fucking cartoonish thing I've ever seen. Hated it. But then it's the next bit that I don't get that I need clarification on. So he gets like sort of Looney Tunes blasted into another dimension by the Freddy bus. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening here. And I still don't get it, even though I've made it to the end of this movie twice. I don't get where he's coming from and where he's going to and what correlation it has to the existing Freddy timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm guessing you don't either because no one is saying a word.
No, I don't understand. I would love to have been in the room with whoever the fuck was writing this. I don't even care who the writer of the screenplay was. I don't know if it was the director, Rachel Talalay, or whatever the hell her name is. Whoever fucking wrote this script was out of their damn minds. And yeah, I don't know where they came up with any of it. None of it made sense to the previous installments.
Nope.
None of it makes sense in the context of the film itself. Not that there is much context in this film,
nope.
But yeah, I'm with you, Mark. I had no idea what the hell's going on.
Because, like, where is he in that first instance? Where is he? I mean, I know he gets sent to Elm Street, and he gets kicked into that world where his daughter is. Spoiler alert. But like, where had he come from? Like, and how did Freddy come back from the end of the last movie?
So I don't know how Freddy come back, but I do understand what they're trying to do here. They royally fuck it up. So this kid is alive. He's in the real world. He's on a plane. He falls asleep. Freddy's new ability in this movie is he can take someone in their dream, take them to a new location, and then push them out of the dream world back into the real world. So he basically took this kid physically off the plane in his dream, dragged him through a dream world, and then threw him into Springwood where he needed him. Also, though, when he comes
out...
He
teleported him.
He teleported him, but when he comes out and he hits his head, that should have been when the credits roll. He hit that rock so fucking hard, he died.
Well, I mean, it did give him amnesia, so I suppose there's a little bit of credibility there. But the point of it is that was not clear. I mean, I know later on Freddy has a throwaway line where he's like, every town has an Elm Street. So I'm assuming every town has an Elm Street, and because he used to live on Elm Street, or if that's, I don't know if he was from Elm Street back in the day, it's like basically like, so I live in a certain street. If I turned into a dream demon, any like street within my country that had the same name would mean I would have a telepathic connection to. It's like, what? What? Because it's called Elm Street in a different country or a different state or a different location, that means you are now the specific dream demon for that street.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to buy this.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Hey, I do want to say real quick though, so that opening part, and then he drops, he's on the bus, and then he pushes him into the next dimension or whatever. My daughter watched this piece of shit movie with me, and then after that line on the bus where Freddy says, "No screaming while the bus is in motion," guys, she fucking kept saying that every 10 minutes.
Oh,
I don't know if that helped the experience or made it that much worse, but it was ridiculous. It's her favorite line. She was saying it again today. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
I'll be honest, I have said that line when I'm going a little bit too fast and the kids are in the back going, whoa, whoa.
Man, this movie's not memorable enough to start quoting lines from it, lads.
The cops see John Doe ambling around looking at crap in his hands, and I quite like this because I thought this was very authentic to how police would actually behave. They're like, oh, look, a homeless man, we think he's high. But he's under 18. Let's drop him at the shelter because then we have to do no paperwork. Like, that tracks for me. I buy that. The shelter, first of all, the set design for this shelter, it looks like it's straight out of Street Trash. Where is this shelter? Like, there's like an oil drum outside with fire and a broken down car and like someone dragging like crap across the road. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah, the writers and makers of this movie was just like, oh yeah, that looked cool. That looks cool. Let's just put that in there. That looks cool. It doesn't need to have any context or correlation to the story or location. Just put it in there. It looks cool.
I agree. I think they were just trying to make it look edgy, and that was it. And maybe it was just for cost sakes. It was cheap. I don't know, but it looked ridiculous.
Yeah,
it'd be a hell of a lot cheaper not to put it in there in the first place. Trust me.
True.
There is some discussion. So we meet Breckin Meyer's young character in this, Spencer, Breckenmeyer, I'm going to give him some credit. He's actually quite good in this for his first acting role. Got no
Agreed.
issue with his character. When he's talking to his dad, and his dad's a real arsehole, and his dad goes, and the psychiatrist comes in, she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, my dad just wants me to be like him, like date raping co-eds." I was like, "Whoa!" And like the psychiatrist is like, "Okay, yeah, cool. Your dad does that. Yeah, we're not going to unpack that at all. We're just going to let that be a throwaway line." I was like, "Hold on." So her dad works at a school and he's date raping his students, but no one cares. Like wow, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
It
It's
was
odd.
probably the best line of dialogue in the entire film, and he delivered it great.
Yeah, he did.
Is this the dude from Euro Trip or Road Trip?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what was his
Clueless. I think he
ponytail,
was in
man?
Clueless too.
That was a fashion. There are some.
Oh, was it
photographs.
actually a thing?
Yeah, undercut with a ponytail. There are some photographs that exist of me with a very similar hairstyle.
I need to see those immediately.
I used to have an undercut that was right up to the top, and I had hair down to my shoulder, and I used to wear a bandana, and I used to plait my hair through the bandana at the back. I looked like
What the
Tong
fuck
Po.
did you think you was? A frog brother? You can't go wearing bandanas and ponytails in the UK, man.
I did. I was a strange child. There's a lot of weaponry in this school, and the fact that Breckenmeyer knows how to make a pipe bomb at like 16, I was quite impressed with that.
Yep. I don't think I would be able to make a pipe bomb, and I'm quite hands-on with most things. But one thing I don't have a lot of skills in is making bombs. But I can freely travel on aeroplanes wherever I need to, so
Yeah,
probably not a bad thing.
we meet his friends, so we meet the deaf guy, and I didn't put his name in my notes because Carlos.
Carlos.
Yeah,
I do like the stuff with Carlos. He is probably the best character in the movie, and some of
Agreed.
the audio stuff they do with him where he takes his earpiece out, and especially his death is the best death in the movie with Freddy in the warehouse. It's fucking fantastic, and probably I would probably put it in my top 10 and quite middling in my top 10 of the entire franchise, really, is his involvement in his death and stuff. It's a shame not as much effort and thought went into other characters and other kills in this movie as it did with his.
What, like Tracy?
Yeah, it's bad. The video game one just kills me every time, dude. It's almost as bad as the Freddy black and white comic book superhero guy in the previous one, and I'm not on board for that at all.
But no, I agree with you, Mark. The head explosion is outstanding. Like, it is easily the best part of this movie, without a doubt. Some of the bullshit leading into it with Freddy with the chalkboard pisses me off. I mean, he's like a goddamn little child during this whole sequence, a cartoon character like you described him before. But the actual death, the head explosion, unbelievable. They did great.
Even the stuff like the pins dropping and things like that. I like the chalkboard sequence as well to a certain degree. I understand what you're saying in terms of it being a very childish version of Freddy, but I do feel like that is what he's become since Dream Warriors. Mm-hmm. But I think even though it is a very childish version of Freddy, I think it's done in such a sinister way where he knows how much he's tormenting him. It's probably the most callback version of Freddy I've seen since part 3, in my opinion. And I do really like the Carlos stuff a lot in this film. And that's probably not the only nice thing I'm going to say.
And the hearing aid turning into like the creature, that's really
that's cool. Yeah, because it like almost amplified the volume to such a peak level. It was really creative, man. And I'm like,
it almost looked like a little face hugger, right, from Alien.
Yeah. Well, like the things come out the side of it. I was like, that's so fucking good, man. Like, how do you get this bit so right, but everything else so wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah, and even the sound design here. So when Freddy chops his ear off, you lose all the audio, and all you can hear is his breathing and his heartbeat. And that's
like
really
he's in a monologue
well.
kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's really good. But then to ruin that, behind him, you've got Freddy like jumping and waving his arms and sort of going, yeah. And you're like, you didn't need that. Like, it was scary. I found it like really horrible, and then you just fucked it up.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. There's elements of Freddy like that throughout this movie that are just so Wile E. Coyote. That's annoying. Like the one where he cuts a parachute later on in the movie, don't want to dive
Oh,
too
I
far
forgot
ahead
about
and
that.
spoil it, but then he's there pushing the spikes across the road, and I'm like, what is this Looney Tunes bullshit that this guy is doing? Even Robert Englund must have a little bit of credibility where it's like, guys, you are literally butchering my character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing is, like, the whole way this story unravels, so you've got Tracy, Carlos, and Spencer have all got this plan to escape. And that they talk about how they've got this plan, it's nailed down, which is great. Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. And then alongside that, you've got John Doe going through the psychiatrist, and she comes up with the let's go back to where all your trauma started and see if we can solve it, which psychiatrists just don't do. Like, that's something that cults do, to go look at your trauma, let's unpack it. We're the only ones who can help you. Like, it's a really weird
How does she
choice.
know where to go back to? I thought this guy lost his memory.
It is a little snippet of paper, cutting of a paper in his pocket that said about Springwood. That's it.
Right, okay. Which, yeah, again, right, so when he wakes up, he has that cardboard cutout. He
Yeah.
has like some stay awake stuff, tablets. What else did he have in his pocket? There was something else he had, and I was like, "Has Freddy put those in your pocket, or is that stuff you've been carrying around prior?" Because
Don't know.
I can't remember what the other item was that he had.
I think it was a news clipping, if I remember correctly. But
No, it
again,
was
to
a
your
news
point,
clipping. He had the tablets, and then he had
right?
something else as well with him. But there was
Well, I know
all
there was
things
loose
that he
cash, but I
wouldn't
don't
have.
remember.
No, I can't remember what it was now. It's annoyed me that I can't remember because it almost felt like they're not the kind of things that he would have kept. I mean, the stay awake tablets, yes, that's what threw the confusion into me, because everything else that he had looked like it was almost planted on him, as if so he'd wake up and have like a breadcrumb trail to follow. But then the tablets made me think, well, why would Freddy give him stay awake tablets? Surely Freddy would want him in the dream sequence.
Well,
So that
the
again
the
just
right
confused the shit out of me.
the writers probably forgot that they gave him that stuff anyway.
Yeah,
Like, if
Oh
it
yeah,
was
no, it doesn't have any of a bearing after that point.
it
it
was
wasn't even
probably
it wasn't
important.
even in the script. Actor came with that shit in his pocket. He's like, they're like, that's fine, it works. Let's
Yeah,
go.
they're his own personal items.
Um, but they go out with, so John Doe and what's the psychiatrist's name? I've got it written down somewhere.
Billy
The
Zane's
the
sister.
woman,
Yeah,
yeah,
um,
Maggie.
Maggie. That's it. They go out in the truck, and when they get to Springwood, which is where they're going, they realise that all the kids who were going to escape are falling asleep. Now, I've got a question. If the three of us plotted to escape our child detention centre, which is what this is, and we managed to get past the guards and into the van with the keys, when we got in the van, would we go, do you know what? Let's curl up and have a nap. Or would we actually drive the van away first?
Not even that though, but it's 9 o'clock in the morning. These kids have been asleep all night. This is like the start of the day, and they're like making out like, oh, we must have just dozed off due to all the excitement of this 10-minute breakout we've just done. I'm like, what? What do you mean
The
you guys are
question we
falling
have to
asleep?
ask is if they were stoned off their ass already, and I think the answer is yes, and that's why they were passed out.
Which would make sense,
Yeah.
but Carlos doesn't smoke weed because
Well, that's true.
needs to keep his senses alert. So
Also, the people who wrote this movie have no idea what the effects of weed do, because later in the movie, when Breckenmeyer gets stoned, like, I could be speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure all three of us know what it's like to be stoned. And at no point has Johnny Depp appeared on a broken TV and spoken to me about the dangers of doing drugs. Never.
well, no, but I mean that was like Freddy, wasn't it? That was a Freddy thing, that was a dream thing. You know,
Yeah.
I don't really know if that's a result of smoking weed.
I was shocked. Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold are in this film, who were married at the time they'd done this. Why? Like,
I don't know. Every time you put Tom Arnold in anything, it just cheapens the whole experience. I like the guy when he's doing parody movies, but when he tries to do serious stuff, I'm like, you feel very out of place here.
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with this, because I don't think the two of them were that big at this point in 91 or whatever this was, because I don't think her show started yet. I know she was a stand-up comic, I think, for, during that time,
yeah,
but I have no idea who thought this was a good idea to put them in this film.
no. No, and I'll be honest, I liked Roseanne growing up. Like, that was one of the TV shows that I grew up with.
Oh, yeah, great show.
And like, when I watched this, I was like, oh, it's Roseanne Barr. Oh, she's going to have a cool. Oh, no, No, she does nothing apart from pinch their cheek and go, "Oh, I want you as my kid." And then Tom Arnold drags her away. It's like, well, that was pointless.
And another thing that pisses me off about this town, Springwood, that they go to. So Springwood, basically, so this is set 10 years from the future. So this came out in 91. So this is 2001. You would think that by this point there would be an alert system in place, like kids die in this town. This wouldn't just be oh, well, let's just ignore that sleepy little town where all the children die. No, there would be like investigations. There would be a thing, and not just that, but the amount of people that must travel through that town regularly anywhere, regardless of whether they're staying there. There is no way that children would just not exist within this area. And it's like, I just can't digest the bullshit that this movie's spitting at me. And I'm like, it doesn't make logical sense for this to be a thing.
No, it doesn't. One thing I do like that they do in this that I think they do very well, and it's one of the few things. So Maggie does some really bad caring of children and goes, "Look, I know you were trying to escape, but if you could take the van and take yourself back to the detention center all on your own, that'd be great."
Oh yeah, because that's what they're going to do.
And they go for their little drive, but what they do really well is the reoccurring dream, where they go round and round, and it's the same thing again and again and again. And I thought that was a really good play on reoccurring nightmares. I like that. But
it doesn't though, because it doesn't fit within. I mean, yes, it's cool in theory, but it doesn't fit within the lore of Freddy.
Well, the other thing that pisses me off, though, they already did that more effectively in the Dream Master. If you remember, Dan and oh my god, I forget her name, Lisa Wilcox's character. They're driving around in his truck, and he has them in a loop. Like Freddy has them in a loop where they're doing it. So they already did it more effectively in part 4. So to do it again here in 6, I'm totally checked out. I'm like, this movie fucking sucks. Even to this.
So they do already do this within the franchise. I hate 4, I hate 5, I hate 6. I think they are an absolute abomination of nightmare movies. So it's not very often I watch those. So they have. So this is actually an established thing. So I am being out of turn by talking shit about it.
They do it really well.
Right. Okay. So fair enough then. So maybe it is one of Freddy's powers. But I mean, if we're talking about the original Nightmare, he doesn't have the capabilities to do this.
Right.
If we're going to talk about Freddy's new powers, we have to talk about this.
I love the power glove. It's so bad.
The power.
I want to know how much Nintendo paid them to put this in the movie.
He suck Breckin Myers into, I don't know what it is, Tennis Racket Man 3.
Yeah.
And this is where what's her name? I forgot. Maggie and John Doe have gone to the school. And they've then worked out what's going on. And they end up in the dream to try and save him, and they find Freddy playing the game. Like, all of this, absolute bullshit. But awful.
Yeah.
During this whole scene, I wanted so desperately for Freddy to pull my ass into the TV so that I could go in there and kick him in his fucking nuts. I hate him during this sequence.
Do you know what it feels like? It feels like a Pepsi commercial or something like that. Do you know those like late night TV adverts that you used to get that feature Freddy Krueger or something like that? Like it's just laid there in the chair playing the game. I'm like, oh man, like there is just no impact to your character anymore. This is just heartbreaking to watch, to see your demise come to this, and like the way that this movie was marketed as being like the final send-off for Freddy. Freddy's dead. Get yourself there. We're going back to basics. This is the scariest, most effective movie yet. And it's like, you have misled people so badly with this film, like so badly. And this is just such a disservice to everybody involved in the franchise.
On the upside, I'm pretty sure there is going to be a reel around the time that this episode comes out that you're going to get that scene followed by Power Glove available in all good toy stores. I'm pretty sure that reel will exist very, very soon.
And can I say something real quick, off of what Mark said? Like, I think when I remember watching a documentary on this franchise, and I think they talked about how the director wanted to do something a lot different and wanted to make it a little bit more quote unquote fun. I think that's what pisses me off even more is that they completely fail, because even though they're going for a more fun aspect to this story and to the character, they
It's not.
completely fall. It falls flat because none of the jokes land. It's basically jokes that are almost aimed towards like an elementary school kid. So
Yeah.
it doesn't work at all. And a lot of this film's fucking boring. So I don't know
Yeah.
what they were trying to accomplish, but they failed miserably.
But they did, and I mean, even off the back of that scene, like, then you've got Brennick Meyer's character like bouncing around that room like a fucking Diglett into walls and across the corridor like it's some sort of Scooby Doo sketch where they're running through the corridor. I'm like, oh my god, this is unbearable.
And then the
Yeah.
sound effects, they were ridiculous.
Ding,
Oh,
ding, 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 ding,
awful,
ding, ding.
Yeah.
awful, and that's the full Wile E. Coyote effect. It is exactly that.
And then to cap it all off, they give us a backstory to Freddy, which I'll be honest, I quite like the flashback stuff where his wife
I did.
discovers what he's done. Like, I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
But then they follow that with Freddy burning, and we get demon sperm. That's the only way I can describe what these look like. And they're like, "Do you want to live forever?" Oh, really? That's what a
painful.
demon sounds like? Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah, painful, painful. One thing I wanted to ask: the other doctor in the thingy,
Yeah.
is that Kincaid?
No.
No, I thought the
Oh.
same thing at first, Mark. I'm like, this dude looks just like the guy that plays Kincaid, but no, it's not.
Yeah, because I was
No.
like, I thought it was, and then and again, this is due to the poor setup of the breaking through the third dimension, as it appears to be, even though he's just teleporting into a new location. I was like, oh, maybe this is Kincaid from like a different universe, and he sort of has that telepathic connection with the alternate universe version of himself. Which makes him such an expert on Dream Warrior stuff. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This, if it was written properly, this would be really, really clever. But the fact that it's not even the same guy is, yeah, it's even worse.
It's awful. And like, you get this bit where Maggie, they start with, how can I put this? These characters throughout this movie make nothing but dumb decisions. But on top of that, when they're presented with what's actually happening, they don't get it. Every single one of these
You're
characters.
stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid! Stupid, 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 stupid!
Every one of them, like, even the bit where Maggie goes to the house and she's then dressed in her childhood clothes and she realizes that the little girl was her. And like,
Oh, when
that,
she was in that school, that childhood uniform thing as an
Yeah.
adult, I was like, oh my god, this is just embarrassing stuff right now.
yeah, but like, this is where she should have realized that Freddy's her dad. But even at this point, she doesn't fucking get it. And Freddy has to literally spoon feed her, go, yes, do you remember that you're my daughter? And like, as an audience member, I worked this out like 20 minutes ago. And
Right.
now to have like a 5-minute scene where Freddy explains it and they do the flashback, which again, that flashback's really cool. I love non-burnt Freddy. I think Robert England is more sinister without the burns. But to explain it on such a slowed down, like treat the audience like they're fucking idiots level, just pains me.
And the thing is, like, I picked up on it straight away as soon as she pulled the news article out of the imposter's body. I was like, and then they spent the entire movie trying to mislead us into thinking that he was Freddy's son. I was like, he's not. Like, her reaction wouldn't be that to the news article if it wasn't. Like, she is clearly the child. Like, I know exactly where this is going, and you're wasting my time now.
Let me ask you something. Is this a good point in the episode to talk about what this could have been story-wise, or should I wait?
See, I will save it till facts, because in facts,
right.
I've got an alternative version of a script that was written.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about because it's so much better.
Like if they'd have made
you guys are going to
that
gush
movie-
like fucking facts then,
Yeah.
because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's
if
fucking
they
amazing.
if they had made that movie, I would be sat here now going, this is the best Freddy movie. Because even if they'd fucked it up, the script idea was so good, it still would have delivered on so many different levels. Even if it was terrible, I'd have gone, this is so cool. This is great. Yeah.
I am so intrigued right now that there is some sort of alternate version of this movie where it makes it the best in the Nightmare franchise.
It was an amazing story.
And
all right, cool, man. I'm excited to hear that in a bit.
Let's do the 3D glasses. Like, again, why? Like, when you go into
I
the
own
dream
those.
world,
I own
you,
those glasses, which is cool.
you need these special glasses, and you'll be able to see it. He puts these cheap paper. Younger or listeners won't remember, but when we had 3D, it was a blue lens and a red lens, and
Yep.
it was shit. But he
Where are
put
they?
these on, and then they disappear, and
That's
then
the thing,
she
like Mark or Scott. Why did they disappear? Like it would have been more fun if she'd have been the whole time had those stupid paper glasses on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
These ones.
There they are.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair though, I know we're criticizing it heavily, but I do think that they. Why am I trying to justify this movie? They do a good job of saying like it doesn't matter what they are; they could be anything. But in his reality, they can be anything you want them to be. I
Yeah.
mean, clearly they've just put it in there as a marketing gimmick because
Right.
everybody went to the cinema to see this in 3D, even though the only 3D thing about this movie is Freddy's death at the end, and it's fucking awful.
Yep.
But that's what they did. They handed out those 3D glasses at the screening of the movie. But yeah, dude, they're fucking stupid. But I actually own it. This is the 3D version, the VHS 3D version, where you wear those glasses to watch it. It's not 3D. I'm not gonna lie to you both. It's not 3D at all.
Maggie's powers when she puts these on. So there's a moment where she's fighting Freddy, and you've got Tracy is like sliding weapons under this grill to her. So Maggie throughout this has been a psychiatrist, a well-dressed lady with no apparent skills outside of her chosen field. She can now throw knives and ninja stars to such accuracy that she can pin Freddy to a wall with no effort whatsoever.
And the thing is, as well, the one where he puts his arm up, it's almost like he's like that. Like, oh, where's it going to go? Let me make sure I get it in the right place so you can pin me. It's so badly choreographed as well. It's awful.
You know, one of the skills she doesn't possess during this time or the whole run of the movie is fucking acting, because her performance is piss poor if I've ever seen one. Like to me,
Her relationship with the guy who's the John Doe, the two of those are terrible. And
Yeah.
every single scene where it's just the two of them on screen, I'm like, this is painful for a nightmare movie as well. Like an iconic franchise and a final outing. You couldn't have picked somebody better. And I Googled who this was, and this is Billy Zane's sister. And I'm like, is she even an actress? Has she done anything outside of this, or have you just hired her because she's Billy Zane's sister and he's quite popular in the 90s?
Right. Yeah, and it's like Rooney Mara is terrible in the remake, which she can be a good actress, but she's terrible in the remake to me.
She is.
But Lisa Zane makes her look like an Oscar worthy actress, because this performance and line delivery is fucking awful.
Dreadful.
Let's go with the line that she really nailed. Happy Father's Day, as she shoves a pipe bomb that they salvaged from the school earlier into Freddy's chest. And
right.
Freddy's
so like again,
he explodes and the dream sperm all spin around him going, ah!
Right. And this is one of the biggest hates I have for this movie. Regardless of overall consistency of the franchise, I've reviewed majority of them, and one thing that I always highlight massively is Freddy's demise. I think every single movie, his demise is always epic. The practical effects used to kill Freddy in the end is always really grand. It's really cool. It's really creative. This is embarrassingly bad CGI, and you get the Freddy head like ooh at the end, and I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, you have a backlog of movies that show you how it should be done, regardless of consistency in the overall movie. The ending is always top tier with Freddy being killed. Here, his final death. This is Freddy's dead. And this is the worst one in the entire franchise by a landslide as well.
Agreed. And and to your point, the final one, and it's so lazy. They go with the whole pull Freddy out of the dream world thing like they've done since the very beginning, and then they execute the worst kill sequence ever in this franchise, to your point. And it is the best word to sum it up: embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get
It's
this
terrible.
cheesy little like grin at the screen from Lisa Zane, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is
And then
like
she says
if,
Freddy's dead, and and then
uh,
it's like, what the fuck, man?
if I'd have paid money to watch this in the cinema, and especially with the hype and the build up and the marketing campaign that went behind this movie, I would have been infuriated coming out of the cinema. Because this was an event. This was an actual event when this movie came out, like a worldwide, like global event. Like, yes, this is the final Freddy. This is going to be it. And man, oh, the disappointment so many fans must have felt from this movie is unbelievable.
The best bit of this movie, hands down, is the end credits where we get Freddy's greatest hits. Like
Yes,
everything
that's
Freddy
cool.
done good throughout the whole franchise is at the end of this movie. Like, forget the movie, just give me an extended cut of Freddy's greatest hits, and that is better than this film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it's time. Shall we take a quick break?
Please, I'm done with this shit now.
Are we all done? Has anyone else got anything else they want to attack before we move on?
No, not all.
No. Okay, let's take a break.
I think shit like this is funny because there is that vibe, though. Like, there are people on the internet that, like, unironically are like, you want to solve the homeless problem? Just kill them all. Like, they genuinely, like, consider that a solution.
Welcome to Reddit.
Under the Floorboards podcast, hosted by John and Eric, is a horror movie review podcast leaning in hard on comedy delivery. Their show is super fun and super easy to get into. You will binge this show.
Lennon's role in the Beatles was central to the band's identity and success.
But let's not forget that McCartney is just a relentless workhorse.
Between the Facts is brought to you by Phil and Dan of Mondo Street Social Club and dives into the world of true crime, conspiracies and controversial cases. If it is true crime or true crime adjacent, you can guarantee it's going to appear here. These and many other shows are members of the You Run Podcast Network, available at yourunpodcast.com, your home of entertainment. We are the home of entertainment, yourunpodcast.com. You'll find links to everybody's show there, including Justin, who's with us now. Justin's the second row down, right in the middle. Pop Culture Reflections, you'll find him there. Time for Mark's recommended account. Let's see if he's ready.
Send them to the slaughterhouse!
I'm ready. That
You're
was
ready.
awesome, though. I could have let that go for a lot longer. This week's recommended account is Video Undead. Video Undead is a VHS collector and LP collector and showcases very similar to what I do on VHS from the Crypt, except this guy is an actual really, really good photographer. I spoke to him quite a lot outside of my account. He's a photographer in the real world, and he makes some incredible shots. The reason I picked him for this week particular is because this is a guy who recently was kind enough to send me the Nightmare on Elm Street box set that you guys get in America that we don't have here, the VHS collection, which I'll showcase for you right now. Awesomeness. I've always wanted to own this, but obviously to get that here in the UK is nigh on impossible. And I was speaking to him about it and saying, oh, that's one of my grails for my collection I'd really love. And he tracked one down for me in the US and shipped it over. And one of the nicest gestures I've ever had from interacting with people on social media. So every time I think of a Nightmare movie now, I always think of this dude. And I thought now would be an appropriate time to showcase his account. And I think you should all really go and check it out and show him some appreciation, because he's really, really talented as a photographer. And the fact that he showcases VHS just really appeals to me a lot. So yeah, go check him out. It's Video Undead. He's a really, really cool guy. Not only that, if you want to chat to him, you want to talk to him about his collection, he will as well reach out to you and have that kind of level of communication. So check him out. Video Undead on Instagram. He's probably elsewhere, but I'm not. So that's where you're going.
That's awesome. And yeah, go and check him out. Sorry, I'm a little bit detached because we've just had breaking news on the show, which we never get.
Ooh.
Breaking news that we're all about to make very, very big congratulations. Heather Silman, co-host of the You Run podcast True Crime, has just given birth.
Hey!
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Amazing.
To
Stevie
Heather.
Rose is in the world. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic news.
Breaking news. That's wonderful. Heather, we're sending all our love to you. I'm genuinely over the moon. Wow. Wow,
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
that's lifted what so far has been a really shit movie episode.
Sure
Yes,
has.
Definitely so.
that's
Definitely.
awesome. Heather, I will have spoken to you by the time this comes out, but congratulations. Let's do some facts. So I'm going to start with some basic facts, and then we're going to dive into what we could have had, and we can all sit here and gush about how wonderful this could have been. This is the first film in the franchise not to include the skipping rope girls. Instead, they used the lyrics of the story throughout. So you've got one on the pavement, which is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. You've got 3, 4 in the school hall, and they scatter it throughout, but it's not the same. There was original script for this written by Peter Jackson, who Mark is very, very well versed in, Mr. Peter Jackson.
Yeah, boy.
So the original script for this is not the one that I think me and Justin want to talk about, but this script was basically Freddy had become this weakened version of himself after the last movie. So it had become like a game now for teenagers to get fucking smashed off their tits, fall asleep, and go and beat up Freddy. And then Freddy grows powerful again and comes back to take revenge on them. That's really cool.
Yes, big time.
It
But
is, but like also very cheapening of the character of Freddy. Like it's a game to go and just like kick shit out of Freddy. I mean, obviously he will then grow his powers and become strong enough to then seek his revenge. But I can understand the decision from the studio to not want to go down that road initially and having such a weakened thing at the beginning. I know they kind of interject that a little bit with the Freddy versus Jason element, kind of. They've obviously taken that script and rolled with it slightly, a slight variation of it. But yeah, no, I don't. I love Peter Jackson, I do, but I don't feel compelled by that script very much.
Well, I'm going to let Justin tell us about the other script we could have had, which is the one that is mind-bendingly good.
Well, unfortunately, I had the Peter Jackson one, but was it the one about the Dream Lover?
No. So
okay,
there
well,
was
you're going to have to talk about because maybe this is off my radar.
So there was a script written, which is basically the John Doe character is the grown-up son of Alice from the previous installment. He is the dream child. Now, he was going to be a major character, but they couldn't get Alice back to do the movie. So they binned the script off. So in that draft, Alice was going to be in her 30s and she was going to be killed at the opening scene of the movie. And then you were going to get these protectors that were going to come and protect the dream child, which was the return of Taron, Joey, and Kincaid from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, who were going to play basically dream protectors. As Freddy come to get him in their dreams, they would show up to defend, and they would have all of different abilities, and they were basically dream police. So you had Taron was the blade cop. So she had this really cool cop outfit and like shitloads of knives. Great, love it. Joey was, what did Joey have? Joey was the sound cop, so he could control sound and noise and like had sound wave powers. And then Kincaid was just the tank that he always was and could beat on Freddy. And the whole series was going to, or that whole film was going to be about Freddy trying to get to the dream child, and when he couldn't, basically working a way to divide this dream police, kill them all one individually, and then go after the dream child, only to find that the dream child has more power than he does. That,
right?
Do you know?
I did read about that and forgot about it. And yeah, to me, it's still, even though I think Mark's probably not high on that, and I'm not. I think that's why I forgot about it. I wasn't real high on it either, especially bringing back those characters that are clearly dead. Made no sense to me, but I do think it's still more intriguing than what we got, obviously, in the finish.
Oh, 100%. But I think the issue that I have with that idea is one of the most disappointing, and I know I'm on an island with this, but one of the most disappointing things for me about Dream Warriors is this interjection of sort of abilities within normal people. I never bought into that. I never bought into the whole superhero aspect of that kind of story. I felt it underwhelmed the lore of Freddy. Like Freddy is a force, he's a force to be reckoned with, and he's his own thing. So having this sort of dream-like ability that you gain, or everyone has their own specialized power, and then eventually they all morph into one power for the final karate choreographed scene at the end. I was like, I didn't like that, and that's one of my biggest gripes with Dream Warriors. But I know Dream Warriors is one of the most loved of the franchise, so I could understand why they would want to then interject that into this story here. But for me, that's one of my biggest disappointments with Dream Warriors. I don't like that side of the story. But again, I know I'm on an island with that. I know that that's just a personal thing to me because I
The
know
thing
how loved
is,
that film.
either one of these scripts, the one where we get the Dream Police, or the one where we get Freddy has now become effectively Talk to Me. It's effectively the Talk to Me script. You fuck around with a demon, knowing that you've got control over it. Like both of those scripts, even if they were delivered badly, would have been a million times better than what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, and back to what I was gonna say. Did you ever hear the story about the Dream Lover thing? And I don't remember beat for beat
No.
what the story was, but I swear, unless this is a fever dream, that I had heard that there was a script idea for Freddy to fall in love, believe it or not, in the dreams with whoever the potential victim was going to be, and that ended up being his downfall because he's now in love with this individual, and they don't have those feelings for him, and I think they kill him through that way or something. I that's what I remember, but I couldn't find it in any type of fact.
Unless the lead final girl was a 4-year-old, I can't understand how he would have fallen in love with anybody, to be honest with you.
Right.
Which makes for a very, very dangerous content level for a movie.
That's a dark movie. And let's be honest, let's get it out there. Everyone uses the Freddy was only a pedo in the remake. Freddy's always been a pedo. They just never explicitly said it. Like he's always been that guy. But in the 80s and 90s, they were like, we'll just insinuate it and let people make their own mind up. And one of the reasons everyone hated the remake is because the remake had the balls to go, no, he's a pedo. He's been a pedo all along. And that's one of the reasons everyone was like, no, he was a child killer. Like, that's better. Like, that's so much better.
Yeah, like there is no wavering sort of. I mean, yeah, obviously there is if you think about it in a very brutal and nihilistic way. But I mean, obviously, either way is not great.
When Freddy punches Tracy in the final fight scene, he actually punched Leslie Dean hard enough that he knocked her to the floor.
Holy shit.
It was an accident. It was an accident, but that raw footage does exist where Freddy or Robert Englund just absolutely lamps her and then sort of goes, oh shit, I'm really sorry. And she's on the floor like, oh, I've just been decked by Freddy. Brilliant.
Oh, and he had to feel like shit because I've always heard he's a really good guy.
Yeah, apparently he's awesome.
Maybe it was the frustrations of this script just come out in that one scene. This is the only film in the franchise Freddy doesn't use his glove to kill anybody.
Yeah.
But his kills are shit throughout anyway, so.
They are. And finally, the film producers planned a spin-off of this, which was canned after the reception this got. So the spin-off was Freddy was dead, but Maggie was going to take her birthright and take up the glove and start killing children and then get torched in a house. And then we were going to get a rebirth of A Nightmare on Elm Street with Maggie now as a female Freddy. Yeah.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
That is clinching at straws if ever there was one to continue a franchise.
This cost $11 million to make. I don't know how, but it did. Any guesses on how much it made in its worldwide cinema release?
Half of that.
High. No, high, massively high, just due to the marketing campaign behind it. You know, like this was advertised as the best thing since sliced bread. This was the final Freddy. You need to be there. This is an event. This is an event to watch this movie. And again, don't get me wrong, we've all seen it now, and we're like, people paid to watch this shit. But I know how big the campaign was for this movie when it came out, and I can imagine it did very, very well.
Throw me some numbers. Cost 11 million.
Cost 11 million. Given the time, 91, 70, 80 million.
Justin?
I think that Dream Child turned a lot of people off. So I'm gonna say it probably did. I'm gonna say it doubled its budget at best.
It made $38 million. At the time, it was the most financially successful Nightmare movie ever.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, crazy. We have got some voicemails, and because of a story that I teased a couple of episodes ago, we got a lot of voicemails, not only about that, but about other things as well. We're going to work our way through them. We have a decent selection, the most voicemails we've ever had on a single episode. So, here we go.
Hey, lads, it's Newman. I couldn't help myself. I was very invested in your debate over Halloween 4 versus Halloween Resurrection, and I can't remember a time I listened to an episode of the You Run podcast where the entire time I was fuming, screaming, and saying, Jesus God Almighty, Mark, you could not be more right, and Scott, you could not be more wrong. In the words of my fellow countryman Scott, I'm about to come at you like a spider monkey. Halloween Resurrection better than Halloween 4? Or excuse the shit out of me? You're clearly off your nut. Overall effect on the franchise. Oh my actual goodness. Maybe saving the entire franchise after the reception to Halloween 3 completely took it off a cliff. Halloween 4 is the only reason we have more Halloween movies. Talk about overall effect on a franchise. Originality. You're going to tell me that the Halloween movie where we make online stuff the whole point, and we're going to bring in a rap star to add some charisma. Neat. When did the last time they did that? Oh, the last Halloween movie. Characters. Resurrection can eat me on characters. You got Busta Rhymes and literally nobody else. Halloween 4, you got Sheriff Ben Meeker. Dude's so cool. He's like the nicest football quarterback who never left town but actually became a good guy. You got the guy who runs the bar and all the beer belly guys who get together because, yeah, it becomes like an old Western. You've actually got Donald Pleasance doing the perfect balance of he's seen some shit, but he's gotten totally crazy with it. You've actually got a teen love triangle that isn't totally gag me with a spoon, because when, yes, a little girl's life is in danger, they put their stupid drama to the side and they try to save that little girl. I actually like these characters. There's an actual sisterhood bond happening here and a message about found family that's actually quite poignant. And kills, come the fuck on, man. You got the thumb going in the dude's forehead. You got shotgun going through somebody's body. You got the guy driving the truck having the hand come in from up top the truck and rip his throat out, and then they crash the thing. And, I don't know, has about the most awesome ballsy moment of originality ever. Michael Myers' spirits in a little girl now, and that little girl just fucking stabbed her mother to death in the exact same way that we saw in the very first movie, bringing it all full circle. That final moment of Donald Pleasance screaming his face off with madness and pointing a gun at a little girl, knowing there's nothing he can do to stop the evil. After all of this, fuck your face, man. So information, Mark, totally right. Got your back all day, all night. Scott, you could not be more wrong. I'm coming after you like Diddy Kong.
That is fucking
Diddy Kong
awesome.
was actually a gangster. He shivved a lot of people in prison. Most people don't know that. How else can I wrap this up other than to say, trick or treat, motherfucker?
That is the best voice message we have ever had on this show. That is incredible. I wish I had come with that energy for the episode, but I was just sure I needed a landslide win. There was no way I needed that level of backup, but that is fucking god tier Halloween 4 dedication, and I love it.
Can I just say, as a guy who's collaborated with Newman several times, nobody has the energy of that man. I love him. He's one of my favorite people I've met during this journey, but he is dead wrong. Scott, I'm in your corner. Halloween Resurrection is by far the better film. Yes.
Oh, dude, I actually liked you on this episode. What the fuck?
Sorry. Scott's right. I have a lot more fun with Resurrection. I'll watch that any day over 4. No doubt.
Yeah.
Right. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
Right. Moving on. We have more.
I just had to pause the episode because I am requesting this story. It's official. Let's hear it, Scotty boy.
So that's one. You needed 3 requests for me to divulge my early 20s.
Oh, you alluded threesome story.
You have one now. We'll keep going.
Hi guys, so I would like to request that we don't hear about the threesome story, although when you mentioned the word disturbing, I must say I was intrigued. But I do want to request something else, and that would be a movie, because I keep seeing it on polls and nobody ever picks it. I'm sure I'm the only one voting, and I think this will make Mark very happy, and Scott not so much, but I would like to request that you have Granny on the show sometime.
Yes! Yes to that.
To that.
Yes,
thanks,
definitely.
Becky. In one hand, you gave and went, you don't need to share your story. And in the other hand, you took away and went, but you have to suffer a shit movie.
Right, so I'm not going to consider that as a request for your threesome, but I am going to fully acknowledge the request for that movie. And I want to put my own request in and say that if we do that movie and enough time has passed and Heather, congratulations once again, is up for it, that she needs to come on as a guest for that episode.
Yeah, I think that would be a good Heather episode because you and her can talk about it and I can just sit here and drink beer and not share my thoughts. That's the way forward.
Listening to the H4 versus Halloween Resurrection episode, and while I have to agree with Mark during his recommended account of the week segment, absolutely shop small, support the little guys. Everything that we consume is a cash grab. Literally every single thing that we buy, movies, merchandise, it's all a cash grab. That's kind of how capitalism works.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off really strong there, supporting me, and then just kind of turned it a little bit
he
as
did.
if I was the
He was
bad guy.
supporting you. He supported you, then he turned on you saying that because you used that Resurrection was a bad movie because it was a cash grab. So he's like the reverse of Becky. He gave in one hand to you and then took it away.
No, it was my rant regarding Funko Pops and shit, and how I can see a plethora of them behind you as well, Justin. So I do apologize. And I was like bashing on Funko Pops just being a fucking massive cash grab bullshit fucking thing that everyone keeps investing in. Again, Justin, I'm sorry. I even got a message off Beck after that episode, and she was like, I feel personally attacked by what you've just said. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. It's just not my thing. I don't get it. And it's like, it's a wild journey that people go on with these Funko Pop collecting things. Like, Justin, you're obviously clearly a fan. Explain the Funko Pop to me, because I just, like, if they were, like, cool, like, you know, like the Todd McFarlane, like, NECA figures and stuff like that, like, they're really cool. They're really detailed and really realistic. But, like, these Funko Pop things just look so weird. And I'm like, why?
Honestly, funny enough, most of these were purchased by my wife. So it's really not my obsession, but she buys the ones that I have a connection to in film, television, etc. So
as like gifts.
Yes, it's more of a gift thing than it is me seeking them out. Instead, I'm usually looking for the retro stuff, the authentic stuff from the 80s and 90s, which is also behind me. That's more my thing, but she gets those for me. So obviously I'm cool with it. As long as it's a character I have a connection to, that's why it works.
See, to me, I get that, right? So, like, if my wife was looking to buy me something for my birthday and she'd gone into a shop and she'd seen like a Halloween Funko Pop, she'd be like, oh, he'd really like this. Not getting that I would, but I would keep it and I would display it because it was a gift and my wife had bought it for me. So I'd be like, oh, yeah, that was from like Father's Day, or that was like a birthday gift or whatever. But like, man, the obsession with this shit. I've seen like people on YouTube and on like social media on Instagram who have accounts dedicated to it. And I know I say this as someone who has a room full of retro VHS and Goosebumps books and retro video games, but they have like rooms of walls and walls and walls of like Funko Pops. And I'm like, that is insane, man.
Yeah, but I get it. Everyone's got their niche. Like behind me, I've got a replica Annabelle doll and I've got a Freddy glove. And like we all collect shit that, yeah.
I know, but I just think when you got like Funko Pops where they're so mass produced, it like as a collector, like for me, I collect like stuff that I think's really difficult to locate. So when I have it, it's like a showpiece. I'm like, oh, I've got this. This is cool as shit. But then, like, because Funko Pops are so readily available, I don't know. I think that's what it is for me. I think it's because it's so readily available and like so easily obtainable.
So you're
the
a collector
side of it. I am a collector snob. Yeah, I don't care. I hold my hands. I am a collector snob. Yeah, I am.
Okay. We've got lots of messages. You need to stop going off on tangents. Right,
I'm
let's
sorry.
go.
I'm sorry. I get really riled up by Funko Pops. I apologize.
You do.
Sorry, Mark. I don't want images of Scott in my wank bank.
I'm assuming that's Gareth based on the voice.
That is Gareth from Video Tasties. We have more messages. Here we go.
I'm listening to your Child's Play episode now. Fun fact, I've never seen this Child's Play. I stopped watching them after 3. Well, I take that back. I did watch, I think, The Cult or The Curse. I can't remember. One of them I watched, and it was such dog shit that I was just like, I can't get into this because I really only like the first 3. Anyways, so are you some kind of a sex fiend now? Like, what is this sex story? I need to know. I'm not doing anything today. I am very uncomfortable and in a pissy mood because I feel like shit. But anyway, please tell me, you were involved in sexual encounters with multiple people, Scott? You do you. No kink shame, but I can't deal with one fucking person, much less dealing with multiple people. And, it's not really my thing. But if it is your thing and you got a story, we need to know. You have to let the people know. Okay, bye.
So that was
Dude.
Heather last week, sounding very tired. And now Heather has a
Mate,
baby. Oh.
I am so fucking glad she has had that baby because that message made me feel sad inside, man. It sounded like she'd aged 40 years. Boys, just listen to me. She was due that baby and she was ready to drop, man. That is, bless you, Heather. That sounded like it took a lot of effort just to put that voice note in.
When I got that message, I messaged Heather straight away. I went, "Are you okay? You sound."
I didn't like that. That made me feel really uncomfortable. I'm used to her ringing and giving me shit and being very loud. That was not nice.
You now have 2 requests for the sex story. There is one more message. You need one more request. How are you feeling? You feeling your chances are good or your chances are bad?
I don't know. It's kind of got to the point now where I don't know if I want to even hear it myself, to be honest with you.
Well, let's find out if we're going to hear it.
Oh, you know why I'm here. You know exactly why I'm here. I was called out. I saw the bat signal, and I came. Give us a story. Do
Excellent.
So you achieved the 3 requests that I didn't think you were going to, and
dying to see what skeletons are hidden in your closet.
See, the thing is now, right? You have done this yourself, okay?
I have.
You have built this up to a level, and you've got requests, you've got phone calls, you've made it an event. This needs to deliver, all right? Now, if it's just you and some random awkward encounter.
No, it's not. So I'm going to share the story. If this isn't your thing, just skip forward, I don't know, 6 minutes at the most. That's all it's going to take to tell. It's just a short story, and I'll explain why as we go along. So after my first divorce, I was just turned 20. So I got married very young and I got divorced, and I went through a wild phase.
You got divorced at 20?
Yes. So
holy shit, Ross Geller, man. You are fucking nuts.
Yeah, so I got divorced at 20 and I went through a very wild phase where nothing was kind of off limits, and I was out 5 nights a week. I was like random parties, random people houses, and during this time I met someone who worked for a TV station called Babe Station. Does anyone remember Babe Station?
Of course I remember Babe Station.
Yeah, okay. So I started
Justin shaking his head. So basically, Justin, Babe Station is what. So, like, do you know, like on late night TV when like satellite first came out, you get like those random channels, and then you'd get those women who would be like lazily undressing, and they'd be there shaking like boobs and stuff, but they'd all be in bras and things, and then you'd have to phone up a request for them to like
900.
Put your bum at the screen, or take your top off. And as a teenager, you would wait up extra late, maybe like it'd start at about 11 o'clock at night, but then the goods really started to come out about 2 o'clock in the morning. That was when we got like the bra off and stuff. That's Babe Station, basically.
I met who works for Babe Station, and I'm not naming any names because she's probably this story's 20 plus years old. She's probably married with kids, and this might be a secret, and I don't want to all of a sudden unpack a lot of trauma for her if she listens. Hi, by the way, if you're listening. So while I was dating this girl, she was quite sexually adventurous, and she shared that she'd always wanted to have a threesome. And I was like, nah, I don't really fancy like another dude. Instantly going, of course that's what she wants. She's like, no, I want to explore my bisexual side. And in my 20s, I went, this is the best day of my life. Yes, I'm fully on board for this. Let's do that. So she spoke to one of her friends who basically said her friend was up for it, and we all need to meet first and sit down, have a drink, and see if it's kind of like it works for everyone. So we went to a local bar and we sat there and we had a couple of drinks. And during the process of these drinks, my girlfriend started kissing her friend, which led to them both
Awesome.
looking at me going, I think it's time to leave, which led to the fastest acquisition of a taxi in human history. I've never been so fast to, like, short of being in the middle of the road, flagging my arms like this. It was the fastest departure. Like, I didn't even drink my beer. I was like, it's time to go. We're going right now. No time for anyone to have any changes of heart. Let's just go now. And we did. We went back to my flat, and things started going as you'd expect. I'm going to say this in the most polite way I can. I gymmed from American Pie very quickly. Now, this didn't stop the situation. They were very understanding. It was like, oh, we understand this is quite a thing for you. And they carried on and like allowed me time to recover, which is brilliant.
And you got back
Now,
invited to the party, or
yeah. It wasn't. I didn't go make a sandwich. It wasn't a Ross thing. I was invited back in. I kind of sat on the edge of the bed, going, "This is awesome. Hurry up. This is awesome." I got invited back in, and during the process of what was going on, it turns out that her friend was quite into bondage. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, I'm down. Like, if you want to get spanked, like, no, not me. Like, we'd like to tie you up. And I was like, this is awesome.
No,
I was like, yeah, cool. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with being tied up. Do you know what I didn't do? And it's not my wisest decision. At no point did we establish a safe word. Not once. To not give too many gory details, in summary, the following day I was embarrassed because multiple times I was not up to the challenge at hand and ended my enjoyment way before they had reached even the start of theirs. And I had sore legs, a sore chest, sore arms, whip marks all down my back and all down my ass from my Batman belt that had been used to whip me red raw.
You had a Batman belt? I don't know what's more embarrassing, that or the fact that you used to wear a Batman belt.
So 1 out of 5, I do not recommend. Quickly moving on, caption this. Jesus. Oh,
yeah, you definitely should have shared that story on air.
Well, I probably shouldn't have done. If I'm honest, it's one of. I've always had the thing with this show. Like, if someone asked me to share something, I don't. I'm not a very private person. Like, if someone asks me something, I'll just tell them. And I often forget when I say things on this show, I'm not just talking to Mark or Mark and my guest. I'm talking to a plethora of people who then go, well, we want to know too. And then when I tell stories, like, people will message like this. When this comes out, I'm going to get loads of messages asking for extra details because our listeners are perverted.
It's wild. I do that every week. Like, so the other week when we went off on that tangent, and I was like, we was talking about the fitness to crazy ratio of women, and I was talking about my wife to an extensive level of just ranting bullshit, thinking that it's just me and you in a bar talking shit to each other. I got so many messages of people being like, I hope your wife doesn't listen to the podcast. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I say? You know, to the point where I actually go back to the episode. I was like, am I getting divorced from this? And like listening back, like, what the fuck? But yeah, dude, like I sometimes am so unaware of how widespread this generally gets because it's so easy to fall into such a comfortable momentum talking shit with you and being like, oh yeah, so today I did this and this, and then we go off on tangents about the episode and we start talking about our real life and actual things that we probably shouldn't divulge on the air, but it's such an easy trap to fall into, to the point where I wake up on Monday morning, the episodes come out and I'm like, shit, what did I say on Friday night?
Well, that's part and parcel. Also, we've got loads of Spotify comments, but we're going to save those for a future episode because otherwise this episode is going to be about 7 hours long. This is the image we put out for you to caption. You
That kind of looks like your threesome, if I'm honest with you.
It does a little bit, yeah.
All it needs is the Batman belt.
Telehell podcast on X. Now turn your head and cough, please. And they're a TV meets torture podcast. Man, Bear, Pig, like a virgin, pegging for the very first time. And they're a mixed fandom account. Video Tasties. My burnt dick. That's Gareth, Video Tasties, VHS collector. Crust Confidential. How sweet, crisp meat. It's just wrong, Crusty boys. It's wrong. Hey, Internet Eric here. I told you not to touch it. The burns haven't healed yet. He's a YouTuber. Over on Instagram, Horror Fiend. When you finish and she just keeps going. Yeah. VHS flip cover account. Lady Crisis, how's that feel, bitch? And that's Lady Crisis, awesome TikToker, awesome woman. Bloody Babble. De-glove little Freddy like Sanders chicken. Don't do that. Don't do that. And finally, Dissect That Film Pod, also kind of linked to my threesome story. Don't pull it, it doesn't get any bigger. Huge thank you to everyone who has been involved in caption this week, and for everyone who requested my wonderful story. But it is that time of the day.
Broken Spirit 2.0, making tears of people flow. No lifelines, no one helps. These questions will make you yelp. Broken Spirit 2.0, making tears of people flow. No lifelines, no one helps. These questions will make you yelp. Broken Spirit, Broken Spirit, Broken Spirit, Broken Spirit.
So our themed impossible quiz is back. Greg from You're Gonna Eat That Crust is sat on top of the leaderboard with Jim from Retro's Emporium just behind him, Heather just behind him, me just behind Heather, and Mark dead last with 0 points because he doesn't know how to walk away.
Don't know how to
just
walk
real
away.
quick,
team play.
I love Greg. Greg and I are tight, but you spoon fed him that shit, so I expect the same.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll help out wherever I can to a certain degree. Once it gets past question 5, you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, no, I get it.
We have 10 questions, 10 points for each one you get correct. If you get one incorrect, you lose all your points and you walk away with nothing. But you can walk away with the questions you've got correct, and that will be your point. So if you get 5 right and walk away, you'll have 50 points. You need 6 correct to top the leaderboard, 5 correct to tie it. And because they're themed and because of who you are and what you do, this week they're all themed, because I'm evil, around pop culture.
Okay.
Would you like me to go first, or would you like Mark to go first?
Let's go with Mark.
Go with Mark.
Right.
Also, if
I never get to go first. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Justin. I'm touched.
You got it.
You're going to hear this noise.
Right, so question number 1. In professional wrestling, the team of the Natural Disasters were made up of Tugboat and what other super heavyweight wrestler?
Earthquake.
That is correct. Well done.
Off to
Can they all be pro wrestling questions? Because I'll kill it.
Trust me, they start off easier and they get harder.
Yeah. In the TV series Friends, how many times did Ross get divorced? 2, 3, 4, or 5?
That's a really difficult question.
Okay.
You can think out loud. You can do your process out loud. We won't take your answer till you say what it is.
Yeah, so we have the original Susan or whatever her name was. So I know she
Carol.
was the Carol. Okay, Carol. Susan was the lover.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Partner?
correct.
Okay, so Carol was first, and then you have the English woman. I don't remember her name.
Emily.
Emily.
Yep.
And then we got Rachel, if that counts, because it was an annulment.
That's what I was going to say here, because do they get divorced or do they just get a prenup? Not
Right.
prenup, sorry. Do they just get it annulled? Does that count?
For the purposes of this quiz, we would count that annulment as a divorce.
Right. Okay.
But then my question is, because the later seasons I'm fuzzy on, did they get married again and divorced? So my choices were 2, 3, or 4. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to just step in here and I'm just going to say and give you a little bit of help. I don't think he remarries after the Rachel in Vegas thing, but it's been a long time since I've watched Friends.
All right, listen, I'm going to go with 3.
That's the wrong one.
Fuck, I was going to say that's surely the wrong soundbite for that.
So I was right.
You're right. You're on 20 points.
Jeez.
Question number 3. Which actor voiced Mustafa in The Lion King and Darth Vader in Star Wars?
Mufasa.
James
not
Earl
Mustafa.
Jones.
Correct. Well done.
Question number 4. What are the names of the 3 Sanderson sisters from the movie Hocus Pocus?
Again, that is so difficult, man. I don't think I could do that off the top of my head.
I will accept their character name or the actress name. Either one.
See, the actress I think I could get.
I can get 2 of them, but I can't remember the third.
Voice it out loud then. Tell us where you're at.
Well, I
both
know there's
angles.
Sarah Jessica Parker. I know there's Bette Midler.
Yep.
Fuck.
Again, the hardest one to try and guess.
I cannot for the life of me remember the third actress. And as
She's
far as their
also
character names,
in-
forget it.
She's also in Sister Act. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you her surname, as we've helped everyone else throughout. Her surname is Najami.
Doesn't help. It doesn't help.
And that's making me that I knew her surname, but it's her first name that really throws me.
It begins with a K.
I'm still not going to help. I'm going to walk away. What do I got? I got 20 points.
You got 30.
30, yeah.
Which
So
puts you in joint third.
I would rather that than be at the bottom with Mark. Mark, I love you, but I don't want to be.
Dude, mate, it's a nice place to be. You've got dignity. You've got pride. You know that you tried your best and
So I
failed.
don't want to be at 0. Trust me, and I'm never going to come.
Mate, this is a horror podcast, and I'm at the bottom based on a horror quiz.
It's all good, man. I can't do it. I'm going to stop. I have to because I'm going to get it wrong.
You're going to walk away? Okay, that's fine. You've walked away
Kathy
with 30
Najimy
points.
is the answer you were looking for.
What is it?
Kathy. Najimy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got it.
Faithless coward.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do some roundups. Mark, I'm going to let you take this first. If you could keep it under 3 hours, 18 minutes, that would be fabulous.
Perfect. I can do that very easily. So for me, I'm not a big fan of the Nightmare franchise at all, really. I love the first and I love the second even better than the first. I love the second so much that it's my go-to when I go to watch a Nightmare movie. I think Nightmare 2 is fucking spectacular. Nightmare 6, is it 6? Yes, Nightmare 6, Freddy's Dead is one of the most underwhelming and disappointing movies in the entire franchise. And I was always under the illusion that I hated 4 and 5 more than I hated Freddy's Dead for some reason. I don't know whether I just kind of watched these in synchronization and hated 4 and 5 so much that by the time I got to Freddy's Dead, I kind of saw something in it a little bit that made me think, actually, no, this isn't as bad as the prior two. No, watching it this time, I was completely disappointed by what I was seeing. It was such an insult to the Nightmare franchise. Yeah. I think Robert Englund, as much as I love him and I think he's such a capable actor, he just does his bit. And that is it. He doesn't bring anything advantageous to the role. He's just really just cashing that check, and that's about it in this movie. And even then, even like, and I say that as someone who's like he's cashing his check, but he's still bringing his Freddiness. Do you know what I mean? He's still great within the movie, but he's not elevating it to any sort of level. He's just like, I'm kind of done with this now, so let's just wrap this movie up. This is the last one. I'm kind of ready to call it a day. Direction wise, I don't think necessarily that it's uncompetently directed. I think the direction is quite good to a certain degree. The writing is beyond atrocious. Nothing makes any sense whatsoever. The build up and the trajectory towards the climax just doesn't feel like it's building towards anything. It's just repetitive in terms of the franchise. Like, it's repetitive, but also underwhelming in every repetitive step that it takes. The kills are some of the worst in the franchise. Nothing holds any meaning or impact. Again, I mentioned that I like Carlos a lot in this movie. I think his character was handled probably the best, and I think his death was one of the standout elements of the movie. But in terms of everybody else, it's instantly forgettable, along with the story itself. The final demise of Freddy has always been a highlight for me in these movies, regardless of how quality the rest of the stuff is. Once we get to that end, you're like, right, I'm still going to get some quality practical effects. I'm still going to get a really cool kill sequence of Freddy. And again, no, we didn't even get that. It was just piss poor CGI interjecting gimmicky 3D blue and red glasses shit that didn't actually work. It's just a really disappointing send off for such a beloved character. And had I have been at a point in my life where I was able to go to the cinema and being within the momentum of this movie when it came out, I would have been so underwhelmed and so pissed off walking away from this film, given the fact that it had such a mass sort of marketing campaign behind it. It's really, really disappointing because they advertised it as being like, right, we're going back to basics. This is Freddy's last film. We're going to make sure this is the one. This is the one you're all going to want to see. And it wasn't. It was just repetitive. It was tired. It was worn out. Nothing was new. There was no creativity behind any of it. I will say that I think the score used in this movie, not necessarily the score, but the soundtrack, there's some really cool tracks used throughout. And I do like the score and the soundtrack. I think it's really, really cool. But other than that, I just think this is just so blasé as a movie, and especially as a nightmare movie. I hate 4 and 5 so much, but I can't believe that I hate Freddy's Dead more, because I always thought that I liked this one better, but I really don't. This is a 1.5 out of 5. And I think I'm being generous, if I'm honest with you. I think I am being generous with that. Because even the practical effects used for Freddy's makeup as well is so rubberized. Like, it's just like, it's just so fucking, like, it's almost to the point where they make him look like he's digestible. Like, I know as his character's grown throughout this franchise, he's become the gimmick. He's become the advertising campaign behind it. He's going on TV shows, he's doing adverts and stuff. So, like, they want to make him a welcoming figure that people respond to. But it's at the point where, like, his makeup effects, like, in the original Nightmare, and especially in Nightmare 2, again, which I've already said is my favorite of the entire franchise, he has this really wet, sort of constant, greasy sort of look to his makeup effects, which slowly dilutes throughout the franchise. But it gets to the point in Freddy's Dead where it literally looks rubberized. And I'm like, that is just piss poor. It looks dreadful, and I don't like it. Yeah, it's a 1.5. No, it's not. It's a 1. It's a 1 out of 5. I hate this movie. It's dog shit.
Okay. Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to be short and sweet here, man. Easily, for me, it's 1A with the remake as the worst in the franchise. Terrible characters, awful version of Freddy, terrible makeup, like Mark said. Awful script, pretty much a non-existent story to me. I don't think it really adds up to much of a story at all. I said it earlier, it tries to be funny and clever, and it falls flat on its gooey, rubbery Freddy face. I agree 100%. It's a 1 out of 5 at best, and I'm being generous too. the one thing I'll say, I have a lot of nostalgia for this franchise, especially the early installments. For this movie, no nostalgia except for this one thing. I know this is a video podcast as well as audio. This Crack Magazine edition from January of '92
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's the only nostalgia I have for this franchise because this basically was hyping up the movie, and there's a comic strip about Freddy's Dead that is immensely more entertaining than the film itself. I had this as a kid, hated the movie then, hate it more now, but I lost this at some point, but I bought this on eBay for like
I
15
love
bucks.
eBay for that reason.
Yeah,
I
yeah, and I
love
found it for like 15 bucks. I love it. This is if I want any type of Freddy's Dead nostalgia, I go to this, not the film. Never will again.
Yeah.
Terrible movie. 1 out of 5.
That's really cool. Is that like a limited thing? Was that like widely released, or did that just come out as a certain sort of collectible? What was that?
I think it was pretty widely released at that time. It was part of the Crack magazine, which I don't know if it's just the U.S.
Yeah, we
does
didn't
say
get that
Canada.
over here.
All right, it was in Canada, and it does say foreign, but I don't know what countries. But Crack magazine, this was called the Monster Party editions because they had specific horror-related editions that was mostly like comic related, and this one was for that particular film, and it's great. This was my nostalgia for this film only.
That's really cool, man, that you own that. Like, I do stuff like that as well as a collector. Like, I find those things that are really niche to me in my own childhood. Like, I have certain like childhood VHS tapes that I watched religiously as a kid, and then like now I'm like, I remember I watched that every day growing up, and then I've gone and bought it, and I'm being like, yes, the only place I would ever be able to find something like that is eBay. It's such a glorious platform for that reason. Again, the prices these days are extortionate on certain things, but
I love a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I am arguably the biggest Freddy fan going. I think that character's has so much depth and so much more to it under the surface. Like, scratch the surface of the Freddy character, and there's this whole world of horrific things that live there. But this, like, they took the basic bitch element of Freddy, and that's what they gave us. They stripped away anything that meant anything about Freddy and gave us cartoon Freddy, like where he's flying on the broom and he comes down, he's like, I'm after your soul, my pretty. Like, fuck off. What are you doing? Like, Robert Englund is fabulous in this movie. Like, he plays the part. They go, play comic Freddy, and Robert Englund goes, okay, then I can do comic Freddy, and he does it. Like, he's great. Everyone else around him is like they were walking through the studio lot to go and film it, and they just grabbed random people. What's your name? My name's Breckin Myers. I've never acted ever. Great, you'll do. Come with me. Like, oh, you're Billy Zane's girlfriend. Right, you come with me too. Like, that's how I feel this cast come together. And it's almost like someone is holding up cue cards, because there's times when they look straight down the barrel of the camera and deliver their line to someone who's next to them. Like, you're talking to him. Why are you looking at me? Like, it's so bad. It's so badly written, so badly conceived, so just everything they could do with this movie they done wrong through rewrites and changes of director. So they had one director who directed this all the way through until the final 5 weeks of the shoot, and then she was ill, and they brought in this other guy who, there's a tonal shift in this movie that wasn't intentional. That's just because another director come on and went, no, I'm going to change this and do it my own way, and then they cut it together and went, it'll do. And it's just bad. Like, I can't in good conscience score this highly. It does hold some nostalgia for me, but this, I was going to give this a 2, and after talking through it with you two, like, I can't give it a 2. It doesn't deserve a 2. Like, a 2 is me going, oh, I liked this when I was 8. Like, that's the 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it higher than a 1, But bear in mind, this is purely out of nostalgia. All of this score, there's nothing in this that's redeeming. It's a 1.5 out of 5, and that's as good as it gets.
That
This
is a mind-blowing average for a Freddy movie, man. That is insane that we have all gone that low on this film. I mean,
it's
no, it's
terrible.
deserving. Don't get me
It is
wrong; it
deserving.
deserves that kind of bashing. But I just mean, we're sat here recording a podcast about a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and we have given it. I have give worse movies than Freddy's Dead higher scores based on enjoyment, and it just blows my mind that we're all sat here collectively being like, "Fuck this movie."
Before we wrap things up, Justin, tell us all about you. Tell us all about your show and where everyone can find you. And yeah, this is your sales. You can do the best sales pitch ever, and your sales pitch will be infinitely better than Freddy's Dead. No matter how bad you do this, it's going to be perfect.
We'll see about that. Pop culture reflections, man. Like Scott said, I cover pretty much anything pop culture, 80s, 90s, and beyond. I say because 80s and 90s is what I grew up in. That's where my nostalgia is. But I do like to cover stuff beyond that, in the 2000s or even more recent. And I do so many variety of topics: music, movies, television, pro wrestling. Big pro wrestling guy, but also I dabble in some other stuff as well at times. And so, yeah, if you like pop culture, and I'm sure listeners of this show, yes, it's horror, but it's part of the pop culture world. If you love it, and I know you do, you're going to love the show. So go over. I am on Instagram, Facebook. I am on X still. I also have gone on to Blue Sky as well and Threads. So I'm pretty much anywhere. You can look up Pop Culture Reflections Pod on most of them. On X, it would be Pop Cult Ref Pod. And obviously, I'm a proud member of the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. You can find the feed as well. I am on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, all the major places that you will find podcasts. So, yeah, check it out. And I just wanted to say real quick, because I didn't earlier, thank you guys for bringing me into the network, allowing me into it, because this show has grown so much over the last 12 months or so. And a lot of that's because of being part of the network. I have had, I believe, representatives of like 8 shows that are part of our network now on my show, which is really fucking cool. And that wouldn't have happened without this network. So I appreciate the hell out of that. I've said the story before. BP from Let's Talk Horror was my influence to get back into it. You guys gave me a reason to be motivated and to be part of a community. So it means that, the world to me. So I also want to hype up all the members of the network. It's one of the best podcast networks of independent creators that you will find anywhere. So that's me.
Awesome,
check me out. I love pop culture, and I know you do too.
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude, man. That's really nice to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much as well. Because I think people see the network as an outsider looking in sees the network as me, as this mysterious puppet master with all these little podcasts. But the whole point of the network is to give people easy access to communicate and make contact and collaborate and advertise on each other's shows and just all grow together. And none of us make money off of what we do in the network. It's literally a group of people who all like doing this, and everyone we've brought in has got the same work ethic and same thought behind this. They do it because they enjoy it, and part of my enjoyment is meeting people. And the idea of the network is I know a handful of when it first started, a handful of 5 or 6 podcasts I'd love to be collaborating with all the time, and I'd love to advertise their stuff. And is there a way we can make this where it's kind of it works for everybody and everybody gets something out of it? And that's kind of how it was born. And yeah, it's grown leaps and bounds. So we're about to add another member in April. But everyone who's on board is all incredibly unique. If you go listen to Justin's show, that's so different to any other show you find on the network. And that's deliberate. I'm not bringing on a show that's doing pop culture stuff and copying Justin's format, and there's a fair few out there. And the same as shows that I listen to, some shows and you're you put a meme out that made people angry and you've called it angry people on the internet. That sounds familiar. There's so many people who copy other people in the network, And I just take it as a compliment. But yeah, it's all about bringing people together. And yeah, it means a lot. Thank you for repping
I think
us
one of the
like you
biggest highlights of the podcasting network is the fact that it's almost like recommended account of the week. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just bring in people for the sake of it. People like Justin, you're like, well, we like that podcast, and
Yeah.
we want to share that with people who like our stuff, because if they like our stuff, they will also like this stuff, and they will like
Yeah.
that stuff, you know. And I think that's one of the things about it is like, it's so difficult because the podcasting market is massive, you know.
Yep.
I know this myself from trying to find podcasts that I want to listen to and want to engage in, and it's like you must go through like 50, 60 different podcasts before you find one that you actually gel with. And the benefit of the Euron Podcast Network is, if you like our show, everybody else underneath that umbrella are accounts that you will probably like, because we like them, so therefore you will like them too, and we want you to all divulge and enjoy the same level of enjoyment that we get from them. So I think from that standpoint, it's a really, really cool tool for people to use to discover new podcasts, whether it be from a horror perspective or whether it be, I mean, we've got one that specializes in Red Dwarf, you know, and that's not just because we like Red Dwarf, even though I'm a massive fan. It's because that is a podcast that is really enjoyable regardless of its content, that I know that listeners of our show will also enjoy. And and I think it's a beautiful thing, man. I think it's really working very well for everybody who engages in it and connects with it and listens to our show, goes to discover another show, and it's a spider web of growth that is done in a positive light, I think.
Yeah, and it's everything's in one place as well. YouRunPodcast.com. Go there, literally scroll through, pick a show at random. There's 17 other podcasts on there now, plus our own. Literally, if you listen to this show, scroll through, pick one, listen to it. Like, if you like it, great. Go and give them a 5-star review. If you like that one and you get into that podcast and you still need more content, go back to the website, scroll again, pick another one. Like, you're going to find 2, 3, 4 shows out of 17 that will become regular listens. So yeah, do that. Anyway, moving on. Next week we're into March, which means we are into remake month. We have some that you'll love, some that you'll hate, some that will split audiences, some that will split me and Mark, like next week, because we've already recorded it and it was a rather heated affair because Mark knows nothing and I hate him.
Fuck you, man.
But until then, have a wonderful week. I'm so glad after the conversation we wrote earlier that this is my parting comment. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Justin, for joining us. And no screaming while the bus is in motion.
I was going to go with welcome to primetime, bitch, but I'm not even going to bother now. See you guys next week.
We'll end with something a bit more pop culture. Bye, guys.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. You run podcasts, horror movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. Thank you for taking us on this chilling ride, when nightmares roll free and comedy collide. With your podcast we laugh and cringe, but your content is so good we can't help but binge. You run podcasts.
You're stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid! Stupid, 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 stupid!